Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you how I make my veggie burgers. These are my black bean and veggie burgers. They're absolutely delicious and full of flavor. They don't taste anything like tough cardboard. They really are packed with punch and I love them. The ingredients for them are, there are a few of them, but they're really kind of easy basic ones. You'll need some black beans. This is just a can of black beans that I drained and rinsed well. And you also want to make sure that you get rid of as much water as possible. I've got some cooked quinoa. I'll talk about this in a minute. I've got some bell peppers and red onion. I've got mixed mushrooms. I've got cilantro. I've got zucchini that I grated, some panko breadcrumbs, an egg, some taco seasoning, salt and pepper. That's it. If you are using store-bought taco seasoning, omit the salt. If you, however, are making your own blend, you can get my recipe for it on laurainthekitchen.com, then you'll want to add salt because I don't add salt to my taco seasoning. I like to add my own to my taste. Anyways, in the place of the quinoa, you could use some cooked brown rice, cooked white rice, some bulgur wheat, some farro, anything that you want. I always cook quinoa in big batches, so I always tend to have like a little bit left over that's just not enough for 2 meals, so that's why it's perfect to add it in this recipe. But I have done the same recipe by adding different grains, and it works beautifully. Now let's get started. What I have here is my food processor, obviously. I'm going to add my peppers and onions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pulse this to kind of break them up and mash them up a little bit, because I don't want these to have big chunks. I want this to kind of almost be a paste, but not really. I've also got a little skillet, which is a teaspoon of olive oil going, get nice and hot. I'm going to get this going and add it to my oil. That looks fantastic. You don't need very much of it. It just makes enough to give it great flavor, but not overpower. All right. Trying to, with your spatula, trying to push as much of the water out of the veggies as you possibly can and leaving it in your food processor. You obviously don't want to waste anything, but you know. See that little bit of water in there? I'm just keeping that behind because I don't want this to make my burgers too mushy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just cook these for literally a couple of minutes, no longer than that. What I'm doing is just getting rid of that raw flavor, that sort of sharp onion and pepper flavor. Putting that water in this bowl. All right, same food processor, not washing it because it's got flavor. That would be a waste. Now in here, you can do one of two things. You can add all of your black beans or you can add only half of them. I like to add all of them at this stage. I don't mind them being like, more of like a paste consistency, but if you want them more chunky, just paste half of them. It's up to you. Mash them with a fork. It's completely up to you. I'm going to let these go until they're all pretty much mashed up. That looks fantastic to me. You got some paste. You've got some texture. It's got it all. I'm going to put these into my bowl. All right, now to the same food processor. I'm telling you, it's like, why not take advantage of making it all in here? I'm going to add my mushrooms. Oh, I need my blade. That wouldn't be fun. I'm adding in my mushrooms and my cilantro. I like to add a nice big handful of it because I love cilantro, but you could use as much or as little as you want. And all I'm going to do is pulse these until they're roughly chopped, not so it's like a paste, just roughly chopped. Instant, smells like a party in here. That is what I'm looking for. Now, we don't need our food processor anymore, so make sure you scrape it out absolutely as best as you can. I know that sometimes I don't do the best job scraping things out, but do the best you can. Great. It's really easy, and you can also do this in advance. All right, now to this we're going to add our cooked quinoa, and that's just very simple, nothing in it, nothing special. My shredded zucchini. Now, when you shred your zucchini, you want to make sure that you squeeze all the water out. Otherwise, if you were to just add shredded zucchini to this, it could make your product very soupy. You don't want that. So add that right in there. And we're gonna add our taco seasoning. Now this is gonna add so much flavor. And I think too, sometimes when I order veggie burgers out, they can be so sort of tasteless and bland. And I don't want that. I want flavor. I want tons and tons of flavor. I want them to be good, as they should be. So these really have a fantastic balance of flavor, and it's also texture, which I think is equally as important. Adding in my cooked pepper and onion, that cooked for just a couple of minutes, and my egg. I'm gonna add my breadcrumbs, my panko breadcrumbs, later. For now, all I want to do is mix everything together and kind of see where I'm at, and then we'll add them in. I'm going to add my breadcrumbs, start with half. Now the reason why I use panko breadcrumbs instead of regular breadcrumbs is because they're much lighter, giving you a much sort of moist and delicious veggie burger rather than a really heavy and dense one if you were to use regular breadcrumbs. So I do think that that's a key ingredient, at least in my opinion. All right, I'm gonna add the rest of them in. And that is your mixture. And what's really great about these is that you can make the mixture in advance, a couple days before, keep it in the fridge, and then cook them up last minute. You can even make them and then make the patties and freeze them. I mean, it doesn't get easier than that. All right, that looks great. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover this with some plastic wrap, and I'm gonna pop it in the fridge for about an hour to 2 hours. You want the mixture to firm up a bit, and then we're gonna get going on to actually cooking them, and I'm so excited because it's gonna be so good. My mixture was in the fridge for a couple of hours. Now, I'm not gonna grill these because, to be very honest with you, I've never had much luck grilling any kind of veggie burger really without it falling apart, and I feel like I would have to add so much breadcrumbs in order to keep them together, and that would defeat the purpose of them being flavorful and juicy and delicious because it would be so dense. So what I have here is a large skillet with olive oil. You could, if you wanted to, bake these. I've never done it. I always just make them on the grill. I find that it's easy on the grill, in a skillet, on the stove top. I found that it's very easy and works for me. Now I'm going to take a little half cup measuring cup. Now first what I'm going to do is I have a bowl here with a little bit of water, and I always like to dip my hands in the water because that way my patties don't stick. And just form them into any size you prefer. Those are great for me, so I'm going to pop them right in. Right, I've added my last one in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up my mess. I'm going to degrease up everything because the oil does splash, and these are going to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side, or until you get a beautiful crust on them. And then we're going to take them out, do the second batch. You'll get about 6 big, juicy, delicious burgers out of this batch, and we're going to put them together. I'll show you my favorite toppings for it, and that's it. Stay on top of your cleaning so it's less to do when you're done. Some of my burgers are done. I've got my last 2 cooking up still, which we're ready to go. Now I've got one on my bun already. I know, what can I say? And I'm going to tell you my favorite way to serve these. I've got my burger on my bun, and these are just soft hamburger buns. You can use a Kaiser roll. I personally really like sort of more soft hamburger bun, but hey, to each your own. I'm going to have a little bit of tomato, couple slices of that. Then, because I want first of all, season your tomato a little bit with some salt. And because I want something creamy, but I don't want mayo, I'm going to add just a couple of slices of a beautiful avocado. And that's going to do the trick for me. Let's do 3. I'm going to salt that as well. If you want to, just a couple of leaves of like baby spring mix or whatever you've got. But it's not really necessary in my opinion. Lid on, and that's a gorgeous, gorgeous burger. If it falls apart a little bit as you eat it, that is to be expected. It's not like you're using ground beef that's going to hold together really well, but no worries because it looks absolutely beautiful. How am I going to eat this? Let's try this way. That is so flavorful and delicious. Wow. Veggie burgers do not have to be boring and tasteless. They are full of flavor, easy to put together. Head on over to laureninthekitchen.com. I feel like I've got food all over me to get the recipe. I hope you've enjoyed spending time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.